how do you keep your mental health in balance?
Yeah, I do start my days with meditation and breath work.
Okay.
But lately I've been listening to just a song that it's a mantra that says "Ma" over and over again, and the same way that Om has this very visceral effect in the way that it reverberates when you say Om. Ma is the same thing. And so I listen to that kind of how I start my day. And it's something that I use to connect with my mom. She developed dementia 2 years ago. And so that's something that my sister and I are still kind of, navigating and reeling from. And my dad's her caretaker. And so I just think of my ma every morning. That's how I start my day.
Hello, and welcome to Indian Explorers. In this podcast, we talk about Indian success stories around the world. I am Sabrina, and together with my co host Amit, we will get to understand the journey of our guests and what really drives them. The optimism, patience, idealism, and courage, these are the attributes we want to bring to life in our conversations with them. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, share it with others, and help us find our next guest. So, good morning, Amit. How's it going?
Good morning, Sabrina. How you doing?
I'm okay. Little discouraged today. The submersible that we discussed in our last podcast, and I know we're not live, so this is published, about 10 days later. But as of today, they have not found the vessel, and so as of this morning, they're thinking that these individuals may not have any more life support in the vessel. So it's very discouraging. I was hoping we'd have some good news.
I think they're gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's over for them. I read that less people have been where they are in terms of underground than people have been to space or walked the moon.
I
So that's
know.
how difficult and unusual it is. But yeah, our rest in peace. I think they're gone. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hopefully there is a miracle, but realistically, that's what we're hearing. So let's move on to some our wins, some good news.
you start.
My Yes, my win for today is the U.S. women's national soccer team. Their roster came out yesterday. I was very excited. I love soccer. I know you do too. My 10-year-old daughter is obsessed with this women's soccer team. So we're very excited. Alyssa Thompson from California, she's on the team. She is 18 years old. A year ago, she was playing youth club soccer, and now she's a professional soccer player. So very exciting for the U.S., the women's team, and girls soccer.
That's a good win. Um, I don't know if Spain plays in the Women's Soccer
They
World
do,
Cup.
they do, and they have a very competitive team too.
Okay. And I don't know why I called it soccer. Sorry, can I take it back? It's football, not soccer.
I'm rubbing off on you.
Anyway, that's a good win. My win, Sabrina, is Pharrell Williams. Remember him? The
Of
guy who
course,
sings that annoying happy song?
because I'm
Yeah, that
happy.
one. So on Valentine's Day this year, he was named the creative director for Louis Vuitton. Louis
Okay,
Vuitton, the famous
of
group
course.
owned by the French billionaire. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Bernard Arnault.
Arnold,
That's him.
Arnold. I am. It's French, no, so I don't know if you say the T.
Yeah, let's just call him Bernie for
Okay.
this story. Yeah. So Bernie announced him to be the creative director, and this week he had the show in Paris. They blocked off near the HQ of Louis Vuitton, a famous old bridge, and it wasn't so much about the fashion show. It was really a show. I'll just
Yeah.
give you a few of the names that were there in attendance: LeBron James, Beyonce, Jay-Z, who even performed. You had Rihanna, and what's her partner? A Dollar AP ASAP
ASAP. Mm-hmm.
ASAP. You had football stars like Jude Bellingham. You had Hamilton, the Formula One race driver. You had Leonardo DiCaprio. You had Kim K, obviously, Kim Kardashian,
Of
Naomi
course.
Campbell, your favorite, and the person who annoys me the most, Zendaya. And Kelly Rowland. I mentioned Kelly because our guest today has actually interviewed Kelly Rowland.
Right.
So it was just funny to see all these black A-list celebrities. And at the end of the show, Pharrell came out and gave his, 10-second walk and called all the designers involved in the line we just seen, and they were all white. It was
Oh,
just,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
it was just interesting to me.
Do you think this is marketing strategy to connect with a different demographic for the line,
I
for
think
the label?
I think Louis Vuitton is no longer a luxury brand. I think it's a
Hmm.
cultural phenomenon. I
Yeah,
think it's just marketing 101, especially
exactly.
in today's era of social marketing. You had all the A-list celebrities. And it's funny that the only people or couple that actually brought their bodyguards, because it was full of celebrities anyway, was
Hmm.
Beyonce and Jay-Z. So they're not just
I mean,
celebrities, they're VVIPs.
yeah. I mean, she does affect the inflation in countries now, as you've
Yeah,
stated
correct.
before. So
Correct.
very
So
okay. I like.
I was thinking if my win was Pharrell, or is it Paris, or is it Bernie, or what it is. But I just I thought it was eye catching.
Yeah.
That this brand every year I think, okay, Louis Vuitton cannot get more important, cannot get more obnoxious. Seeing these big LVs all over the place, and every year I'm wrong. Every year it's just getting more in your face. Every year I see my friends more and more wearing Louis Vuitton. Maybe because I don't own any single item of Louis Vuitton. I sound like a hater, but I don't know. It just seems like it's a bit too much in your face nowadays.
Um, I think the brand is beautiful, and I think what Bernard is doing is continuing
Bernie,
to build it. Bernie, sorry, is continuing to build it, and he's a genius when it comes to business. Clearly,
sure. Let's
yeah.
go into the fails. Give me your fail.
Okay, so this one is it's a funny fail, and it could be a win for this person. So there is a guy in Florida. His name is Jordan Haber. He graduated from the University of Florida, which is my alma mater, and he is a TikTok content creator about to go to law school. So he had bet his friends, I don't know how long ago, that he would be in the NBA draft one day. Mind you, this guy does not play basketball. So, how's that possible, right? I mean, he's never played high school basketball, college basketball. And today, the NBA draft will happen this evening in the US.
Tonight. Yeah.
Tonight, correct. And so, what he did when he was bored one day is he read through the NBA's collective bargaining agreement, which is 273 pages long. He found a little loophole, I guess. You have to be at least 19 years old, and you have to have graduated from a US school within the academic year of the draft, which is what he just did from University of Florida. Again, he has no basketball experience, and somehow he emailed the NBA, said, I work into your collective bargaining agreement and I am joining the NBA draft, filled out the
And he
paperwork.
got in.
And he got in. So today he is part of the 2023 NBA draft class. I mean, it's a win if you want to be part of the class, but I would bet everything I have on the fact that he is not going to get drafted today. But so I
You
thought it
mean
was
you
just a
mean I've played more basketball than him?
I think so. I really think so. So,
Great.
yeah,
So
that's
that's a good one because it's similar to my fail
okay.
because of loopholes. My fail, I hope it's not too controversial, and if it is, who cares? Is women's sports. Uh, Not because it's boring to watch, because it is, but more because of what's happening in women's sports. In the last couple of months, transgender
Mhm.
athletes, i.e., men who have become women, have beaten women who were born biologically women in
Mhm.
athletics, swimming, horse riding, cycling. I can go on in 20 plus
Yeah.
sports. And I wanted your thoughts, Sabrina, on this because for me it just doesn't seem fair. I think if you're born with a willy or a penis and you decide to take it off one day, that's your prerogative. I got nothing against you. Obviously, I hope it doesn't happen before a certain age. But I don't think you should be allowed to compete then against women who are born women because of various biological reasons.
Yeah.
And I don't know what your thoughts are on the same.
So here's my thought. I think there's two issues that we deal with, and I'm only talking about here in the US. I don't know what the rest of the world is talking about when it comes to this issue. We're talking about equal rights, which is one entirely separate issue, and the second is transgender in sports, right? It is scientifically proven that men are built differently than women. So even men who are transitioning and take hormones to reduce their testosterone level still are not at the same level that women are when it comes to sports. So I do agree with you that men transitioning should not be competing with women. And usually we're finding in these stories is that it's more men who transition and play in women's sports versus women transitioning and playing in men's sports, right? So
Obviously. Yeah.
yeah. And having a daughter who loves soccer, I don't know where she's going to go with this sport, but say she's in high school. I give this example to people when we're debating. Say she's in high school and she may get a scholarship to play in college. But here comes a guy who's transitioned to be a girl and joins the team and gets the scholarship over her.
Yeah.
I'm going to have an issue with
Yes.
that as her
Yeah,
parent,
I
right?
agree. I agree. I don't think it's fair. But it's sad to see how many federations, because the government is passing the buck, at least in the UK, to the sports federations and international athletics. The Olympic Committee probably get involved soon.
Of course.
And all of them are so scared of being boycotted or cancelled that as of now, they're being treated as equal. And this is what's happening. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's fair for women. And I think the law is going to change very soon. It just takes one or two sports, major sports, for it to happen. And then all the rest will fall in line. So that's my
Absolutely.
fail for the day.
So today I'm so thrilled to be talking to Kanika Chadda Gupta. She is a professional podcaster, which we hope to become one day. She has a passion for storytelling, which led her to a career in journalism. She is a former CNN anchor and executive producer who covered noteworthy stories such as the Mumbai terror attacks and Slumdog Millionaire at the Oscars. Today, she is an entrepreneur and podcaster.
And Sabrina, her podcast has over 1 million views versus ours that just exceeded 1,000. So we're on the right track, Sabrina. In addition to that, she's a mother of 3 beautiful children. And I believe she's a passionate classical dancer. So we'll talk more about that with her in a second. First of all, Kanika, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Amit, Sabrina. It is my pleasure.
Yes, it's great to have you. I have been listening to That's Total Mom Sense, your podcast, and I'm in love with it. I just recently discovered it when I knew you were going to be on the show, and I am watching episode after episode. So tell me how this podcast started and a little bit about what it's about.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to take it back to my childhood because I feel like everyone has this origin story. So I was born in Bombay, and then my parents immigrated to the States. And throughout my childhood, I remember just idolizing television anchors I saw on TV, from Connie Chung to Oprah. And even late at night, my dad and I would watch Arsenio. And
Yeah, good one.
I just knew, yeah, that I wanted to be able to, tell stories through the interview format. And, now when you connect the dots looking back, that's exactly what I ended up pursuing. And so the podcast came to be after I had my 3 kids, and I had twins and my younger one within the span of a year and a half. So I'll let you take a breath right there. It just it was such a challenge, and I felt like I was scrambling for all the answers, and especially when we had to do double the feedings, double the diaper changes.
Yeah.
And I started listening to shows because I felt like I didn't have the energy to read all the books out there. And as the adage goes, there's no rule book for parenting. I feel like for our generation, there are many. I mean, I think every second person has a philosophy around how to parent. So, are you a conscious parent? Are you a positive parent? Are you a helicopter parent? And
Right.
I was just getting totally inundated. And so I listened to podcasts, especially when I was doing nighttime feeds or on the road. And I felt like this space was bereft of a show that has four pillars: is informative, insightful, inclusive, and inspiring. And that's how That's Total Mom Sense was born. I launched it on Mother's Day in 2019. And I always had this purpose of kind of reviving my journalism background covering entertainment and lifestyle. So bringing on celebrities, public figures by design, but then talking to them about their parenting journey, because that's
Right.
something that we keep close to the chest, and not everyone knows. And so I thought this would be really, really interesting to hear, what a professional in tech does when it comes to their kids, or what's an industry leader in finance feels, because we all have our own philosophy, and we
Mhm.
should trust our mom sense or dad sense to guide us.
I'm glad you mentioned that sense. I'm about to be a father in a couple of weeks, and
I'm so excited for you.
the first two were a struggle, and the third one I just can't even imagine what's going to happen. I want to second what Sabrina said. I think I'm learning a lot about your podcast. I know it's called Total Moms Podcast, but I think fathers are learning just as much. And I think today the father's role is very different to what at least my parents' generation was in terms of diaper changing, and like you said, the baby feeds. I'm there next to the wife, and it's a difficult journey. I want to mention about your pod. When I listen to the way you bring out the personal stories, like the way Chelsea Clinton spoke about her grandmothers and the love and the relationship she had with them, the way you had Bobby Brown, not the singer Whitney Houston one, but the cosmetics queen empire, yeah, and her story at the end about the googly eyes that she forgot to bring it to school, and she's literally sat on the road crying, and then all of a sudden in school the next day the teacher didn't show up, so she didn't actually meet them. Those type of stories, listening to them from somebody that I've looked up on a business side like Bobby Brown, I love those stories, and I've not heard them in other podcasts. So, kudos to you. I love your podcast, and I think it's not just for mothers, is my point. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely went back and forth when I thought of a name for the show, and I just love the play on words, mom sense, and so I was thinking of changing it and making it more along the lines of the legacy we leave. But I thought, you know what, my core audience is mothers, and I want to be able to cater to them, and then I have dads in the audience too. And since it's one of my pillars to be inclusive, you hear a lot of dad stories. And in fact, I had a co-host, Michael Perry. He's a tech founder. He founded his own project management app for parents, and it's kind of like how you can manage your household and delegate tasks. And it's really brilliant. He came from a tech background, and was with Shopify. And after he had his first kid, and especially being a father who craved a community, especially when him and his wife are going through infertility. He thought, there's so many mom groups out there. What about the dads? And so that's why he kind of launched his business to help bring equilibrium to the home. But I have him co-host with me once a month on a segment called What Matters Most. And yeah, that's the whole idea. It's for not just parents. I think there's gems of wisdom to glean from all my guests. And I really appreciate that you two did your research and listened to so
Yeah.
many
We enjoy
episodes in the
them.
archives.
I'm
Thank
being
you.
very
That's so
sincere when
awesome.
I say this
Yeah,
morning when Amit and I were talking about it, he said, he goes, I'm really enjoying her podcast. I said, so am I. I'm
yeah.
learning so much. And I think one of many things that I love is that you're bringing up topics with your guests that we didn't talk about as kids with our parents
Right.
growing up. So the first one, Kanika, that I went to was talking to your kids about sex education.
Yeah.
You know, I have a 10-year-old daughter and she's starting to hear things at school. So I even wonder, when is the appropriate time to talk about, you know, menstruation and sex and all that stuff. So I that's the
Hmm.
first one I listened to. And then another one that I really found fascinating was the one about Asians and the LGBTQ community. So I
Yeah.
love that you're bringing up all these topics, especially for all cultures, but especially for our cultures. But I want to know, what have you thought going through these topics with your guests?
Yeah, I always look for kind of the gaps in the market. And I love that, you're doing the same thing with Indian explorers. I mean, there's so many different topics or current affairs to cover, but I feel like, okay, what is something that, a parent would find relevant and is grappling with? And I mean, those were two topics right there that, let's say it's a parent who is an immigrant and they have a first generation child who wants to come out. How do you even approach that? And I think that so many from our community are going through it, and they're going through it silently. And so why not hear from someone who has been at the forefront of that and had her own experience with her child and started a whole community around it. They See Rainbow. This was Aruna Rao's interview. And then same thing with like the sex talk. Eventually, we're going to have it. These are like the tough pills to swallow, but you have to face them head on. And why not hear from those who are experts, child psychologists, whatever it may be, on what they recommend. And then in the end, you trust that, I come back to it, your mom sense and dad sense, your intuition on how you want to navigate it. But I think the data gathering and the more information you have is key.
Yeah. I have to tell you guys a quick funny story when it relates to that. So, my husband and I were at lunch with our daughter and my parents. Both of them were in their 70s, old school Indian parents, right? And we're watching, or there's a TV in the restaurant, and there are funny, like silly videos where people are doing like these really challenging things. And my daughter is watching it and she's like, oh my gosh. She goes, he just got kicked in the nuts.
Oh, what?
And we all just looked at each other. No one said anything, and my
Oh
dad
my
just
goodness.
he started laughing. But it was a point where I'm like, "Okay, so when we go home, we are going to have a discussion on what that is and why we do not say it like that."
Right,
So,
right. They're going to learn everything,
yeah.
on the blacktop, at recess. Like that's a thing. So why not hear the truth from their
I would have
parents?
loved
It,
to be the fly on the wall, Sabrina, when you had
oh
that
my God.
conversation. And I
And
hope
it's
you
always
record it.
me. It's always me having the conversation.
Yeah.
Noel,
Yeah.
Noel is my husband. He is a girl dad.
Hmm.
And he's so proud to be one, and he's a great one. But I think when it comes to those discussions, he's still like, that's my baby girl. So I need you to have those discussions with her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
And
makes
I know
sense.
Sure.
you're having, you have a series, hashtag girl dad.
Yes, yes. Girl Dad Talk. That's right. We haven't launched it as yet, but I bring on an author and child psychologist, Kimberly Wolf, who's a dear friend of mine. And she wrote a book called Talk with Her. And it's literally just a roadmap on how to navigate these conversations for dads and the instrumental role that they play on their daughters. And that's not to say, matriarchal figures aren't as pivotal to have, but I feel like those who have really dedicated girl dads end up being more self-sufficient and have better self-esteem and self-confidence, and can kind of take ownership of how they want to portray themselves to the public. And this is all, like, she'll be able to tell it you better than I can. This is all proven by statistics and case studies, and I believe it.
I believe it too.
I think Sabrina was just trying to plug Noel, her husband, to be
Yeah.
a guest in your pod when you
Oh,
launch it.
he'd love to. He'd love to.
Yeah.
I did ask him. I said, "Why is it important for you to be girl dad, and he said, because I want to see the world through Naima's eyes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So,
beautiful. Yeah, and
Moving
he
on.
is such an
yes,
important
move.
part to play.
Moving on. I never told you, Sabrina. I had one of my celebrity crushes growing up was actually Kelly Rowland. Uh, Back in the
Wow.
day, she was the one with Nelly, right? The Dilemma song.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So that Dilemma song, it's we've heard it so many years growing up, clubbing, etc. And I always
Mm-hmm.
thought, what a beautiful black girl she is. And
Mm-hmm.
then we spoke about her this morning because she was in the Louis Vuitton show as well yesterday. She wasn't sitting next to her Destiny's Child partner that had
Right.
bodyguards around her. But, tell us about how do you get somebody like Kelly Rowland, a celebrity like Chelsea Clinton on the show? I mean, do you all you famous people know each other, and do you have a WhatsApp group, or how is it done? We'd like to learn for our own pod.
Yes, I know. I wish it was that easy. I do have a stellar team behind me, so that's been great. But yeah, Kelly is amazing. I booked her because I was chosen to be the moderator for a campaign that Mom 2.0 did with the March of Dimes, and it's one of the leading organizations that helps mothers and infants in need. And they had Kelly as she's not only like a supporter and advocate of the organization, but they had her as their keynote for Mother's Day and for a campaign called It Starts with Mom. And so I was their select, interviewer for it. And I was fangirling big time. I mean, I opened with like, say her name, say her name.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, you didn't. And I was like,
I
yes, I
know.
did.
That was so great. You have a beautiful voice.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. I was gonna sing
What a
more and
song.
yeah,
What a
I
song.
talked to a friend. She was like, "No, no, 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 no. Just like use it as a like a lead in. You don't have to just, serenade her." But yeah, it was really really nostalgic to have this face to face with her and laugh with her as though she was a close friend, and she opened up. And I think that's the other thing is like, yes, I wanted to talk about the campaign and how she is, supporting all these women, especially Black mothers, and the rise in the maternal mortality rate. And that's something that the country has been dealing with for decades. So she really is a beacon for that. But then we got into her own life, and I was like, okay, so tell me about your two sons. And she even wrote a book called Always with Me, Always with You. And that was something she wrote to them because she still goes on tours and she acts and she does a bunch of different things in entertainment. And so she wanted them to know that I'm always there, even though I might not be at home. And then we got even deeper where she talked about how she was raised by a single mom and had this estranged father. And it was only after her mom, Doris, passed away that she reconciled with her dad and found out his side of the story. And I mean, she was saying how, like, when she was touring with Destiny's Child, she would actually have security guards turn him away because he would try to come to different cities and see her in concert. And she was like, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to see him. And she was kind of painted this, there was this picture that was painted for her about him. And it was only afterwards that kind of struck up her own relationship. And now he's such an involved grandfather to her sons. And, isn't that so sweet how life comes full circle that way? And, she still has a parent involved in her life. And so I think those are the moments that we relate to
Yeah.
because they're so human.
Yeah. She got very personal with you on that episode, and it was,
All of them.
and yeah.
All of
Mm-hmm.
them
And
are so personal.
yeah. Well, speaking of that, then they're so personal with you, and you've covered the gamut from, we said Chelsea Clinton to Kelly Rowland to Karina Kapoor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, who have you learned the most from? And I that might be a very general question or broad question because you've learned a lot, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
who's impacted you?
Or who got the most downloads?
No, I wish I had that exact stat for you. I would say each kind of life lesson was really illuminating. But I think one story that sticks out to me because I kind of put myself in her mom's shoes is Rebecca Minkoff. So when she was just 8 years old, she asked her mom to buy her a dress for a school function. And her parents were very strict. Her dad was a doctor, her mom was a nurse, and she and her brother Yuri had to kind of earn their keep because they worked chores and got an allowance. And so her mother matter of factly said, "Sweetie, you don't have enough in your allowance to buy that dress, but I will take you to the fabric store and we'll buy some fabric and I'll teach you how to sew." And so she learned by 9, 10 years old, she was sewing her own wardrobe. And by 18, she knew, I don't want to have to go to college. I'm moving to New York and working for a designer, and I'm going to be in fashion. And the rest is history. I mean, she started her own line shortly after, and she does bags and ready to wear, and has been a really successful designer. And she's actually very nouveau and new age in that, like, I want to say more than 10 years ago, she had in her showrooms mirrors that they would be able to suggest this handbag goes with the outfit you're wearing. Like, it was like smart mirrors. So she just did things that were very cutting edge. And, just hats off to her mom, because she could have taken the easy road and said, okay, here you go. Here's the dress you want. But instead, she said, no, I'm going to find that teachable moment and teach my daughter this greater life lesson.
I
That's
love
awesome.
that. I have not watched that episode, so thanks for passing that message
I
along.
enjoy I
Yeah.
enjoyed that one, and I even enjoyed the Reshma. I don't know her last name. The one
So
for
Johnny,
coding, code for
yes.
code for girls. Is that the website? Let's tag
Yes,
the
it's
website.
Girls Who Code.
Girls Who Code.
Yeah.
Phenomenal,
Yeah.
impressive woman.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Big time. She wrote this book called Brave Not Perfect, and she's currently working on a movement called the Marshall Plan for Moms. And it's one where, mothers in the US are really sidelined. And the fact that we have 0 weeks of paid parental leave
Hmm.
is, it's egregious.
Yeah.
It's like,
Is it zero?
yeah, yeah. It's we're just one of the few, like Papua New Guinea and just a few island nations are the only ones that have no paid parental leave. And so if your employer does give it to you, it is
Got it.
a bonus.
So it's
Yeah,
so
but
it's a
not
company. It's a
government
company
mandated.
right, not a
Yeah,
state right.
yeah. And I think
God bless
that's it.
America.
Yeah, I know. There's so many things wrong, right? Oh my goodness. And I know you've talked about this on the show.
Yes.
Well, we always
Yeah.
battle gun control, Sabrina and I, because
Yes.
Sabrina lives in America and her kid does drills, and I always talk about how I cannot understand. All our guests we speak to are mostly outside America, and it's not an issue for them. Last week we spoke to somebody who runs schools in India,
Hmm.
and we mentioned to him about guns in India, and he said, "Not a problem, not an issue. Move on." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned this because that's my next series. It's something that I'm working on. And it's called Saving Our Children.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
on, yeah, it's on just the gun violence culture that, the US has now. Having it be a series because I feel like it involves a lot of different conversations. And one is with Shannon Watts, who is a very devoted mother of four who started Moms Demand Action. And that is the largest grassroots campaign against gun violence and fighting for gun reform in the country. And her successor is Angela Farrell Zabala. So I have both of them on talking about how they started this and how, families can join the fight. And what's really groundbreaking is they're 10 million strong and the NRA is 5 million members. So they have kind of, gained enough traction
But
to be
who
more
has more money?
powerful. Yeah, that's the thing. The
That's
gun
the issue.
lobby,
Hmm.
yeah, in this country,
Yeah,
it just is.
I read or I heard. I think it was Vivek. I don't know his name, the Republican who's
Yes,
Hmm.
wants to
I know
be in
exactly
a
what.
president. And I
Hmm.
believe, I mean, he's obviously Indian, and I think I heard him. If I misquoted him, we can delete this part. I think I heard him say that the solution for gun controls is to have three extra security guards in each school with
Right.
guns. And I was just listening, going, "This guy wants to be president, and he wants
Yeah.
more guns in school, and he's Indian." Like, I was just like, "Wow, we just do not see eye to eye." I don't know if it was. I mean, I think I heard it correctly. But I was in
Hmm.
shock when I heard him. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts? Do you want to give us your 1 minute thoughts on guns in
Yeah,
America, or
I
is
was
it too
going to ask
political?
Kanika that, and also I don't know how old your oldest the twins are, but
Hmm.
what are your thoughts? And then also, what advice do you give your kids when they hear about it?
Yeah. Okay. So, who Amit was talking about was Vivek Ramaswamy, and he's,
Yeah.
running for president. And yes, I would say because Republicans are so fervently beholden to the Second Amendment, and there's states that are even allowing for permitless carry, they feel like just having more guns. Good guys with guns will kill the bad guys with guns. And so yeah, that's not something that I believe in. I mean, they even like someone had kind of said that there should be like a teacher training where they know how to use
Yeah.
firearms. But like, what a
Mhm.
disaster that would be if it's in like a drawer somewhere in the classroom. Like you just yeah you can't have that be a solution at all. And I feel like it's a really hard topic. I think that the legal age should be raised to. I mean, you have to be 25 to run a car, so
Exactly.
you know, at least that. And I think just having militia grade weapons,
AK
AKs,
47s.
yeah, that should be eliminated, and there should be a full ban on assault rifles because
Mhm.
it's not necessary. I know that that it's our right to be able to assemble a militia in the case of like the government like upheaval. However, like when you think about it, and parlay it to what happened in the 1700s, that didn't mean that each family could have their own cannon. And you know what I mean? And so when
Yeah,
you do
no,
like
that's a
an
good
apples to
point.
apples
Mhm.
comparison, yeah, I mean, our technology has advanced so much. So it just, what could, like, from AKs, is it going to be tanks after that? Like, no, like there has to be some sort of reason. And I feel like those who are NRA members that are really in it for like the recreational sport treat it with respect. And I feel like conflicted in this because my dad actually, he is a member, but he um, has these relics and heirlooms from my great grandfather, who was a really prominent man in Punjab. His name is Lala Ram Sarandas, and that was my great grandfather. And so he has all these rifles from when he used to go hunting, and it was just like a family sport. And my dad has preserved that. In fact, I learned how to shoot a 22 rifle myself when I was, I want to say, 12. And we went target shooting, and it was something that, like, there's a certain respect for it, how you cock it, how you store it, how you clean it, how you put it away, and then how you're actually out on the range, and you respect the person next to you when they're actually shooting. It's just that is not there. I think it's just a lot of unhinged teenagers that have um, mental health issues and have access from whatever their parents own stash, or are legally allowed to buy one themselves, and then massacre ensues.
I think the last 1 minute has been too much common sense. We're going to have to edit this whole podcast and
It's
remove the
okay.
last 1 minute. Sabrina, I was thinking we should have in our pod, instead of wins and fails, we should have a section, God Bless America, with the American national anthem, and then just talk about something that only happens in America. I think that would be
I
great.
mean,
We
yeah,
could do a whole series on that, right,
We
Kanika?
could do it.
yes, let's
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, and it can be
We don't
satirical.
talk about Trump anymore in this pod. We have a win and fail at the start of every show, and
Hmm.
none of us are allowed to use Trump as part of a a fail, because we
Okay.
don't want to talk about it every week. So Brina, where
Yeah,
do you want to go next?
yeah.
How do you juggle it all? You're a mom, a podcaster, a wife, a daughter, a dancer. How do you
I
juggle it
can add
all?
to that. She has merchandising line. She has multiple podcasts. I'm assuming there are multiple income streams. She has one with a toy company, one with Maple that we mentioned. She has another one with a home app. So
Mhm.
I second the question. How do you manage your time on this podcasting lane?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say once I started monetizing it and working with big brand sponsors, that's when I decided, okay, podcasting is it for me. And time management is key. I think I learned so much of this with twins. I had to be able to do a lot in, like the same amount of 12 waking hours that everyone else kind of has, and I'd multitask a ton. And so I think I've been able to just use that skill in my professional life. And it's funny. It's like I do the school drop off at 8 a.m. and pick them up at 3. And that's when I turn into a pumpkin. And so I have to do everything between 8 and 3. My recordings, my press, if I'm doing a live on a news segment, whatever it may be, that's my time frame to do it. And I try and work out before then if I can. And then in the evening, I'm all hands on with the kids, and I think that's something that I've made priority because um, you can't outsource child rearing. As a parent, if you've made this choice, you want to be the one who's hands on and teaching them the life lessons and having that one-on-one quality time when you can. And so I make sure that my afternoons are free, and if I have to go back to work again after they're asleep by 7
Yeah,
7:30, I do that.
that's great. How do you keep your mental health in balance?
Yeah, I do start my days with meditation and breath work.
Okay.
But lately I've been listening to just a song that it's a mantra that says "Ma"
Okay.
over and over again, and the same way that Om has this very visceral effect in the way that it reverberates when you say Om. Ma is the same thing. And so I listen to that kind of how I start my day. And it's something that I use to connect with my mom. She developed dementia 2 years ago. And
Okay.
so that's something that my sister and I are still kind of, um, navigating and
Of
reeling
course.
from. And my dad's her caretaker. And so I just think of my ma every morning. That's how I start my day. And then I would say when I work out, that's also
Mhm.
my time for self-care. And I feel like that it's such an overused term. It shouldn't be this luxury, like, oh yeah, I take care of myself like once or twice a week. It's like, no, you have to if I'm taking care of everyone in the family, you have to take care of yourself first. And so whatever fills your cup that day, it could be journaling or talking to a friend. I make sure to do it. And that way I'm in kind of the right headspace to tackle everything else that gets thrown my way.
Yeah. Thanks for
Makes
sharing
sense.
that.
I wanted to ask you about your business. Whatever you can share, whether maybe the pie chart, what percentage comes from brands versus subscribers versus merch versus, I don't know, advertising or sponsors. Can you give us a sense on that?
Yes, absolutely. I would say, I mean, maybe it's like 80% come from my sponsorships. And then I'd say like 15% is my speaking engagements. And then another 5 would be merch and kind of, like social media and things like that. But my sponsorships are my bread and butter and jam and cheese. And I love it because there's so many different ways to do a brand partnership. And I think you just have to be innovative. And that's when I put my producer cap on. Because when you have a podcast, many times people think, oh, it's just the pre-roll ad or the mid-roll ad, and that's about it, and then you share your code, mom sends 20 and that's it. And, maybe you're only generating that affiliate income, but you have to go a step further and think of what can I do to add value to this brand? How can I leverage my audience to drive traffic to their site or their service or product? And then they're all in and they will say, okay, this is the retainer we want to put in, and they're investing in you. And this has happened a few times. So as an example, during 2020, when all the parents were kind of responsible for remote teaching, kids were remote learning, parents were becoming teachers. And we did a partnership with Homer, and they're a learning app for ages 2 through 8. And so on the app, it's really brilliant how they have figured it out, because in that age group, the kids know what they like. And so if you want them to learn math concepts and reading and have it be all about trucks and excavators, you could do that. You could just fill out an assessment as a parent and choose, what are your child's interests? And, for my youngest, it's dinosaurs. So he learned everything he needed to, whether it was stories or, you know, early learning concepts, but with dinosaurs. But anyway, yeah. And so the founder and I, connected, and I pitched this to her. I said, why not hear from you on a mid-roll segment across several of my episodes for the next few months? Because many parents don't know about Homer. And though your consumer base is kids, your customers are their parents. And so how are you reaching them? And sure, you can just, like ad hoc put a bunch of Google ads and your AdWords together, or Instagram ads, and then hope something sticks. But I think if I have a loyal audience that I'm speaking to, why not, work with me? And what was kind of mutually beneficial was, I said, I'm going to give you that platform. You shouldn't have to go out and start the Homer podcast. Just
Yeah.
be on mine and have that airtime. And so we heard from
Co-branding.
Stephanie Dua. Yes. Yeah. And then the parents, they're not going to skip over the ad, because now she's talking about building math confidence, social emotional learning, sensory play. And we don't know anything about this stuff if you're not an early education, like teacher. So you don't know about this. So you're going to listen to the ad on the Daphne Oz episode or on the Bobby Brown episode. And so it's win-win. And another campaign that I did was with Nanit. They are a baby monitor brand and really leading in femtech. And it's so cool. So they have your baby monitor, but they also do smart sheets and smart swaddles, so they can measure infants through their camera technology. You don't have to go to your pediatrician to find out, what's the measurement of my baby and weight of my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
That
have
is
the
so
technology.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, really cool. So Nanit, we did a video series, and I brought on the CEO, Sarah Dorset.
I saw
And
it.
yes, yeah, okay.
It's awesome.
So we talked about
Yeah.
her story and then the products. And it's a soft sell. I think the most important thing when it comes to branding is, appealing to the customer's ethos, and telling that founder story and finding those common connections, because in the end, that's what's going to drive a point of sale.
Yeah. Sabrina and I getting ideas now in terms of our co-branding opportunities.
Yes.
Kanika, one of the ones I liked, and I don't know if they're a sponsor of yours or not, but I really enjoyed was Mandy Teefee, Selena Gomez's
Oh,
mom.
yes.
And she talks about Wondermind.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's a sponsor or not, or if
She
they are,
should
but
be.
I
I know,
know
right?
they absolutely.
I'm in talks with them.
Okay, great. Because I've
Yeah.
been, I subscribed to their newsletter, I mean, months and months ago, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So good luck with that one. I hope you get it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. Even let's see, Serena Williams is an investor. I think
Mm-hmm.
she invested a couple million, and maybe they have
5, yeah.
yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah, and like 9 million in funding, and they're raising their venture capital at this point. But with Mandy at the helm, like, and Selena as the face of it, and there's one more founder in the trifecta,
Right.
Daniela Pearson. She's the
Mhm.
founder of Newsette. So with the three of them, they can tap into their orbits and get shit done,
Yeah.
for real. And it's to basically share that mental health isn't something that's like uh, a nice to have. It's so important to have, just like we care about our physical fitness,
Mhm.
mental fitness, and
100%.
what are we doing to strengthen our mind. And then those who are not sound in that way, like how can they be helped and supported, and what are free resources that they can access, because again, like the suicide rates, and I think it all kind of one's is the reason for the next.
Yeah.
So you have to just nip the root problem in the bud.
Exactly. So our podcast is about success. And it's a subjective term. So tell us, what does success mean to you?
Yes, I would say I'm going to quote Oprah here, and she says that success is when you discover what your life purpose is, and that is the highest and truest expression of yourself. And for me, that's storytelling through interviews. And because it's something that is a driving force in my life, and it does not a day feels like work, that's how you become successful. It's just somehow everything kind of aligns, and you gain more and more notoriety for what you're good at.
Yeah.
I'm going to copy paste that answer, Sabrina, from now on when somebody asks me that question. I feel the same way. I think storytelling is key, and that's why we're doing podcasting.
Yeah.
But I won't
Yes.
mention Oprah. I'll just say I came up with that.
Yeah.
He's not an Oprah
I love
fan,
it.
Kanika. He's not an Oprah fan.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
I love Oprah. So I'm
Oh
so
my
happy you
God.
quoted her.
I was an Oprah fan until she interviewed Harry and Meghan. Once
Oh,
she
okay.
interviewed those
I hear you.
two,
okay.
and
Mhm.
the way she sucked up to Meghan and Meghan's mental health issues, it was a bit too much for me.
I thought she did a
So
great job in that interview. But
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it too, but I hear what you're saying. I feel like I always kind of tread the middle ground, because I think like a journalist and I'm so objective. I can see both sides.
I think I was. This was the worst. This was the first time where I actually liked what Piers Morgan had to say, about Harry and Meghan. So I was a
Mm.
little bit more, and even the Spotify guy who called them fucking grifters last
Oh,
week.
shit.
So bit strong. Okay,
Yeah.
what's next for you? Like, you're obviously on the right track. You're enjoying what you're doing. Uh, are you trying to be the Joe Rogan of moms? What's Tim Ferriss? Who are your role
Yeah.
models? What are you trying to become?
I would love that. I love that you say that. I mean, I want to make sure that I'm always doing things that are cutting edge, and podcasting is surely here to stay. But I feel like if I can take what I'm doing and have my own talk show on an over the top platform and go a step further, I want that to happen. And I also am working on a book, and that is for now titled "That's Total Mom Sense," but it's going to have all the kind of gems and insights from all of my celebrity guests, and I think that'll be like a great anthology for a parent to read and keep at their bedside.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I'd gift it. I
Yeah.
would. Totally.
Thank
Makes
you.
sense.
Thank you.
Sabrina, what next?
I know you wanted to ask her about Chelsea Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's going to be the first female president in
I
the United
agree.
States of America. God bless America. I think her mom was close, and I think Chelsea's got everything going for her. And I think by that time, if we have another Trump presidency, we're going to need one ASAP. So, what are your thoughts on Chelsea and her political aspirations? Since you actually know her, I don't.
Yeah. No, I wish we were like, yeah, I do. I mean, I've interviewed her twice. She is just such a dynamic person, and what I love about her is, I grew up in Maryland, and would visit DC often and have gone to the White House. And we grew up right alongside her. She was in the White House from age 12 to 20. And that's like the most formative years for, a young adult. And she did it so well. I mean, she was so studious, like whether it was like state dinners or events that her parents were going through, she never missed a day of school. She said she only missed one day of school in that entire 8-year tenure. She had her head on straight and she knew exactly what she needed to do. Very self-guided, self-motivated. And I'm sure, her parents were a great kind of, like beacon for that. But I think she is her own individual and I give her credit for that. And she never mentioned to me whether she's going to run. So this is just all of us speculating. But I have um, a thought that she will kind of follow in her mom's footsteps and perhaps be a New York senator first and run for that race first, and then use that as a like stepping stone
Stepping
to
stone.
Yeah, but
yeah
even
to
even
the
the way she
presidency.
handled the whole Monica Lewinsky episode, I thought she
Yeah,
was class throughout. I think she's a top
100%.
woman.
She was young
One,
during that time too. So imagine
yes,
having to go through that
Yeah,
yeah.
as a kid.
It's so true. Yeah, I think about that. And I mean, being a first daughter, she could have been like a socialite, that's
Yeah.
like scruples out the window, and she just wasn't that way. And so
yeah.
yeah, I give her credit for that. And she has many books. She's a very prolific author and she's kind of under the radar about it. But as I was preparing for my interview, I was like, oh my God, she's written 9 books, a whole series
Wow.
called She Persisted, which is about, just women and women's empowerment across the world. So, featuring like Malala and Ruby Bridges and kind of names that we've come to know.
Right.
Malala, that's
And
good.
then,
Yeah.
yeah. And then even a book called It's Your World, Start Now for tweens. I can't wait till my kids are old enough to read like a chapter book like that. I think Naima would like it. Sabrina, it's about how even as like a 12-year-old you can make an impact in your community. And she
Yeah, that's
talks
good.
about climate change and global warming and those who have a lack of education and resources and all of the different kind of problems that the world is plagued with, but how even kids can make a change and
Hmm.
create this ripple effect from their communities on out. And so
Oh, that's very
it's
nice.
really empowering. Yeah.
She was so
So check
humble
that out.
when you mentioned her books
Yeah.
on the podcast. She's just like, oh, thank you for sharing, and I'm a little embarrassed about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah, she really was. Her latest is called Welcome to the Big Kids Club.
Yeah.
So it's, a fun children's book. And it was one that she was an only child, so she never really needed this, but she knew she wanted to be able to give this to her first and second, on what to do when expecting a sibling. So Amit, this may come in handy for your sons, where it's like you're a big kid and you're going to help raise your baby brother who's on the way, and this is
As long as he
a
changes the diapers,
responsibility.
I'm good.
Yeah, I know.
That's
You
all
know
I'm
what,
after.
they'll learn whatever you teach them. My sister is 7 years younger than me, and I still remember taking a bottle, testing it on my wrist, and feeding her, and I was 7. So I mean, if you show them that, like, mommy and papa need you to help with this, like,
Yeah.
they'll be game.
Chelsea, 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 what a
Yeah.
powerful woman. Speaking of powerful women, Sabrina wants to ask you about the most powerful woman on TV today, Seema Auntie.
Oh, I love it. Yes, let's get into that.
Yeah.
Sabrina,
Tell
go
me
for
what
it.
you think. Oh, I've seen that you've interviewed several of the co-stars.
Yes, yes. So I know Smriti Mundra, the director. We met way, way, way back, and even her dad, Jagmohan Mundra, was a judge when I won Miss India East Coast. It's like a Indian
Wait,
pageant.
stop. Pause right there.
Yeah,
Did you say you won Miss India East Coast?
yeah. This was in
That wasn't in the
2006.
bio.
I know I took it out. It's like, I was in my 20s, half my life ago.
Okay, and the way
But
you say it, you're gonna I okay, I get so embarrassed when my husband says this, but I'm gonna say it just because you said it. I won Miss India Florida, but it was much earlier, 97.
oh
Look
my
at
God, I
us.
love it.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
was
know
Miss
that, and I'm your
Maryland.
cousin.
You didn't know
I
that? Yeah,
can't
I don't
believe
talk
it.
about
Yes.
it either. And now it's on air.
I love it. That I mean, it was a thing, right? I was Miss India Maryland in 2005, and then '06 is when I placed the other one. But yeah, I think each of our home states, if they had a robust Indian community, we had our own pageants.
Yeah,
It's great.
we did. Okay, so
Oh,
I,
sorry
I
to
love
cut
I'm
you
it.
in.
I
off.
Sh-
love
Let's
it.
continue.
Yeah.
I'm in shock. I'm in shock for both statements, so I'm just going to keep
Oh
quiet.
my goodness.
Just carry on.
Let's practice our
I'm,
wave.
I'm
Yes.
proud of you both. I'm proud of you both, but I'm just going to keep quiet. Move on.
It's a rite of passage, I would have to say. But yeah, so um, I had on the stars of Indian matchmaking. There was Ashay and Viral and Sheetal from the season, and so I haven't interviewed Seema Aunty yet, but she is a force, I have to say, and I like her. I think she. She's from a previous generation, and you have to give her that respect.
Yeah.
She's not trying to
Yeah.
be rude or anything like that. But she wants everyone to find love and is hoping that her matchmaking skills are up to the mark. But
You think
with
it still
the
works, the arranged marriages, the way she's trying to do it? You think it still works in today's day?
I feel like it depends. That my answer is it depends because it's up to the couple to do the work, and you really have to kind of size each other up and suss each other out and figure out like, is this person for me? But yeah, I think that it is a union of families, and especially if one person is Indian, it's like their family is going to want to feel aligned with the other family, and so yeah, I think that's really important to have. And then if the couple sees eye to eye and sees that, okay, this is something that like our values match, and I want to build a life with this person, then yeah, then I'm all for it. Because now I think it's just everybody's into trading up. You have way too many apps. It's like the Netflix conundrum, so many shows, and you can be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you're like, shit, I didn't even like watch anything in the end. And I think that's what's happened to relationships, and you just don't commit to anybody. And in the end, if you want to have a companion in life, you got to just make a choice and like work through the rough shit.
Yeah. That's what people don't
But
do anymore, right?
Yeah.
but the stats show that arranged marriages still work, right? In terms of divorce rates, love marriage versus arranged marriage. I don't have the
Hmm.
numbers, but I believe arranged marriages seem to last longer.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that because I mean, I think it's like now there's so many opinions at play, and it's that many people that are like, yeah, these two are gonna gel because we gel, and there's just so much more of a background check
Yeah.
done up front. And if you've known, somebody or a family for years, then you know everything,
Yeah.
about them, and so it's not just
That's why the old school
someone on an
way,
app you're swiping through.
yeah, the old school way worked, right? Like
Yeah,
your
yeah.
parents, I mean, yeah.
Hmm.
So before we get to our quick rapid fire, your dream interview.
Oh, this is an
You
easy
had,
one. Michelle
Who
Obama.
who who you've?
oh,
Oh, Michelle Obama. Okay.
that's a
Yeah,
great one.
yeah. And since she's doing her rounds still with her latest book, The Light We Carry, I
Yeah.
feel like anytime anyone has a book, they are happy to do an interview. So
Yeah.
that is like a good kind of segue into that. But um, yeah, I feel like she was, a queen mother for us in a way. And the Obama administration just led this country with such class and
Class.
family values,
Yeah.
and we need to restore that. And I think because she was at the forefront herself. She was very genuine and hands-on and passionate about the causes that she supported, and how she raised her girls. Like, I think she's exactly
Yeah.
what Mom Sense is about.
Can I
Agreed.
request? I would like to request Jessica Alba. Jessica
Oh,
Alba a mother?
yes.
Is she
Yes.
a
Oh,
mother?
She is a
absolutely.
mother
Yeah,
of
mother of
three, I
Okay.
three.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way she's built the honest company,
Yes.
Hmm.
you know, I think her story uh, would be
I like that
good.
we're thinking this
Yeah,
way
I
that,
agree.
there are all these high profile people, but now we're thinking of them as mothers. And that's what you've brought out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just this, it levels the playing field. It's the ultimate unifier. And
Yeah.
we just get each other on a different level when that is. You see the person in a different way.
Another request.
Hmm.
Sorry, Indira Nui, the Pepsi woman,
Hmm.
Pepsi
Hmm.
CEO.
Yes. Hmm.
I'd like to hear her because I've heard her a lot speak about business and
Yes.
how she Pepsi versus Coke, stock market, blah blah blah. But I'd like to hear her story.
So Amit has a
Yeah.
list for you now.
I love it. It's so
I don't know
great.
any of them. I don't know any of them, but happy to throw them out. Okay,
Yes. Yeah. That's
rapid fire.
spot on.
So the
Yeah.
rapid fire, we're going to steal another idea of yours. In the last
Hmm.
2 minutes of your interview with Kelly Rowland, you did a rapid fire with her where you just came up with a word, and then she had to come up with whatever she thought of.
Cool.
If you remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
So let's start with that. My first word is artificial intelligence, AI.
Future.
Future.
Now. Present. But
Is it
yeah,
future
here
or
to
now?
stay. Yeah, it's now. It's now.
It's now.
Meaning this, it's going to rule every facet of our lives
Yeah.
in the future.
So it's evolution started.
Yes.
Okay. The
Sabrina?
next one is texting or calling someone.
Calling always an hour-long phone calls. I love it.
Yeah.
While unloading the dishwasher or driving with the
Multitasking.
Bluetooth. Yeah.
Okay. Next, dream holiday.
I haven't been to Italy. That's on my list.
Yeah. All right. And then the final question, probably the most controversial, the next president of the United States.
Oh my goodness.
Michelle Obama.
Yeah, I know. She's not going to run. I can't say. I really can't say.
Okay.
This country is totally split. Even last time it was 49-51.
Yeah.
But the one I
We
hope
want your,
for, Chelsea
yeah.
Clinton.
All right. We'll go with Chelsea.
Yes.
And you heard
When
it
she's
here
ready.
first on Indian Explorers, right?
Yes, yes.
Hi. Welcome back, Kanika. How are you?
I'm fine. It's so nice to see you. It's like we're hanging out on the regular.
Great. Kanika, I want to thank you. The last episode we did not complete. We had some follow up questions, but I had a baby. Baby takes precedent. So,
Yes.
I've been kicked out of my podcasting studio. I've come to the eldest son's room. So, thank you so much for agreeing to come back to finish the pod. I really appreciate that.
Happy to, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sabrina, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to have Kanika back. She's so much fun to speak with.
Great.
Yeah.
Where should we start, Sabrina?
I want to know, we didn't discuss at the beginning of our conversation how you two met.
Um, love at first sight. No, Kanika,
No way.
why don't you tell us the history? I remember it was in Bombay.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's like this family friendship. Bombay is a second home to so many of us, and it was really the best decision I made. So after my master's, I was looking for a job in television, and I just moved to Bombay on a whim. I knew that there were, English medium channels there, and, got picked up by CNN a month later, and that's on the work front. But from a social perspective, we were just part of the same expat community. And whether it was family friends from Lagos or London or, Aussies, and it was just, we had this like melting pot UN experience. And so we saw each other out and at parties all the time. And it felt like this home away from home and having family away from home.
You
I
both have
agree.
said, or I know, Amita, you've said those were like some of the best years of your life.
I can't even describe it, Sabrina, because I went to Bombay similar to Kanika. I didn't have a job. I just went because I smelt the air. There was something about it. It was
Very
other than the
pungent.
bad smell. No, it was just there there was a movement. There was like, this is happening. And I remember my first year in Bombay, I had just left Miami and New York, right?
Okay.
And in New York and Miami are not exactly, they're super vibrant, cosmopolitan party cities. But my first year in Bombay, I partied more than my 4 years in Miami and New York. And I lived in Manhattan, downtown. So you can imagine what kind of a lifestyle we had every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I'm not a club guy, but it was just so good. Every Saturday night, I fell in love with a new girl. It was just like, it was just gorgeous.
No, you know what I remember? We also had some milestone moments. When we were there, Barack Obama was elected president, for the first time, and so it was groundbreaking. I mean, all the American expats, we went nuts. We had this.
Yeah.
I'm born on the 4th of July, so we had like a huge. Well, when he was inaugurated, and then I had another party. Like, we were just over the moon about that win. I still remember "Si se puede." Like, it
Yeah.
was a big deal.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Barack Obama, but he didn't affect my Bombay nightlife in the
Okay.
slightest, to be honest with you. But you know what? I met my wife, Chandni, in Bombay, fell in love in
Oh,
Bombay. And every time I go back, which is every year or two, my in laws still live there. I, it's in my heart for sure.
yes.
And
Same.
I would like to leave Chile at some point and move back to India. So, my connection with India is still strong. And
I
I'm now
love
doing
that.
a podcast called Indian Explorers. So
There you go. There
go
you go.
figure.
Yes, lasting imprint.
Yeah,
You
go
know,
figure.
I never had that experience. We'd go there, visit for a week, 2 weeks, and then head home. So I never had that amazing experience you guys had
Missing out.
living. Yep.
Maybe your
So
daughter will.
yeah, so she has not been yet, but I know hopefully in the next year or two we'll make it out there and take her for her first experience. But Kanika, you were born there, you told us, and you moved here when you were 5 years old?
Two. Yeah, when I
Two
was
years
two.
old to the
Y-
US.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
I was going to ask, how have you kept that Indian culture, Indian heritage strong when you,
Dance.
yeah, you're a dancer as you grew up, and then I guess we'll get to how are you instilling that in your kids?
Yeah, sure. Happy to answer that. I guess it starts with like language, Hindi. I was fluent in 5 languages by the age of 3. I lost them all, but there was Hindi, Punjabi, Marathi, Gujarati, English,
Excellent.
and
Wow.
yeah, and I mean, it still runs deep. Like, I mean, if I were to say, अगर आप ये पूरा इंटरव्यू हिंदी में करना चाहते हो मैं ज़रूर कर सकती हूँ and so it's
I would
like
not be
it
able
just
to do
comes
it.
up, yeah. But
Me
it's
neither.
yeah, no, but it's something that I feel like, kudos to my mom. When she moved here, she found a school called the India School, and she enrolled me when I was 5, and I was taking Hindi and Indian classical dance, kuchipudi, and Hindustani vocal music. And I did that for 15 years. And mind you, when I was a kid, and now that I have kids, I went kicking and screaming. I did not want to wake up at 8 in the morning on Sundays to be at school from 9 to 2. But it's something that's so a part of my fabric and who I am now. I couldn't imagine it any other way. And so I learned how to read and write. And again, when I, was working at the network in India, it came in very handy because I was talking to, all of the staff, and for interviews, whatever I needed, I would have to like even, bust out my slang on occasion. And then, I think even the um, really fascination with our religion. I remember with my nani watching Ramayan, reading Amar Chitra comics, and on VHS tapes watching like the Mahabharata volume
Yeah.
1, 2, 50. But that just left this, lasting impression that I know who I am and what my heritage is. And so then now as I'm a mom, I definitely want to pass that on to my kids, and there's so many different ways to do that. I haven't found an India school equivalent in New Jersey where I'm based, but I am going to be enrolling them in something called the Vidyapit it's a Vivekananda school, and there they do something very similar, where they learn language and the arts, and they're also fascinated by the mythical stories, as I was as a child. So I do share those with them, and I'll just tell you something that happened yesterday. It was a whirlwind day. My three kids are enrolled in summer camp, and my daughter got hurt at the pool. And so we had to go to the rush to the ER. She had to get stitches, all of that. And one thing she wanted to take with her was her baby Krishna doll. Here it is, right here. And we have all these plush toys. Modi Toys makes this, but there's Krishna, there's Ganpati, Hanuman. There's so many. I have like Saraswati. They're
Did you
all
say
here.
Modi toys, as in
Modi
MODI?
Toys. Yes, yeah. So this was a way that I taught them, and she even knows a lot of the mantras. I taught them the Ganpati one is Vaktitunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. And I mean, these are things that they like are so willfully learning, and Gayatri mantra, all that thing, all those kind of mantras, they love to just absorb it all, um, and they remember on their own. And I just think that that's something so organic, and it's so true to who I am. And they're like, teach us, Mama, we want to learn.
Can we send our kids to you for summer camp?
Yeah.
No, can we come live with you? Wait, what the kids,
Please
Sabrina?
do.
You and me. We are so
Yeah.
uncultured compared to Kanika. She's making us look like crap. I
Nay,
mean,
nay,
forget
nay.
the kids.
No, I think
That is
that's.
also, and you sound beautiful.
Thank
She sounds
you.
beautiful.
Thank
She looks
you.
beautiful. She's. You know what, Sabrina? You know how every podcast, like All In Podcast, has a guest speaker that they call every time they want.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who brings the knowledge and something, the skill set that the actual hosts don't have. Kanika. Every
Yes.
time,
Oh,
every time we do something serious, every time we do something intellectual, we'll just get Kanika as our guest
I'm
expert.
here for you. Oh my gosh. I will, yeah, be a guest co-host whenever you want.
Oh, I love it. Kanika, you're trained in classical Indian dancing, correct?
Yes,
Tell us more
yes.
about that.
Yeah,
Just
so the
add
style.
to the list.
Yeah. So
To
the style is
perfection.
called Kuchipudi, and it hails from Andhra Pradesh. And many of us know Bharatanatyam as like the most prominent tradition from the south, but Kuchipudi is so beautiful in its own way, and that it's comes from dance dramas and plays, and every character is acted out. So if you're showing Draupadi, like with the sari, you're acting that out, and all the emotions that she felt, you are actually imbibing every role that you're playing in the dance. And so I love that, because it was such a joy to watch and so moving. And my mom knew about it when she enrolled me, and there's a fun story there. So it was at India school, and this teacher, she was in her 20s. Everybody was signing up for Bharatanatyam or Kathak. And my mom, by that point, had become, the vice president, and was so involved in the school. And so she said, "My daughter's going to take your class. She'll be your first student." And I loved it, and loved how much I learned how expressive with abhinaya that it is. Um, and there's three facets to dance. It's nritya, natya, and abhinaya. So there's like the technical and the footwork, and then the expression. So it has all of that. And just this summer, I went back to my guruji after 20 some odd years, because she was having a dance camp again. She's in her 60s. She has, over 100 students, and has been doing this since then. And then it came full circle, because I had my daughter Suhana
That's
learn from her. And
That
oh my
is
gosh,
so
I was like,
fun.
just like all welled up.
Oh,
You know,
that's beautiful.
Sabrina, next time
Yeah.
your white friends tell you, like, you're the perfect Indian girl, just remember this conversation, yeah? Kanika, I have a question for you just to make myself feel better. What are your weaknesses? Please
Oh my
tell
God, I
us.
have so many,
Please
so
tell us.
many.
Please tell us one.
Yeah, I have OCD. Oh my gosh. It's like
Is
I'm
that a
just
weakness?
yeah, I know.
Give us an
I,
example of your OCD.
oh
Yeah.
Lord. Okay, so I am just very compulsively clean. Everything has to be in its place, labeled, organized. Yeah, it seems like a good thing, but there's times where we're running late and I'm like, I have to make my bed. I know it's so strange, but I will go upstairs, make my bed with all the like, 15 pillows and then leave. And so it's definitely something that like gets in the way. And then the other thing would be just being a perfectionist. I'm really hard on myself. And when I see that manifesting in my kids, I feel like shit. I'm just like, wow, you don't have to be, you
Yeah.
like messed up on your coloring. It's not a big deal.
I'm not liking your answers. I want a real weakness. I want something your husband complains about.
Oh my gosh. I'm really emotional. Like, I mean, I have a bad side. There's times where it could be something so insignificant, but I'll like blow it out of proportion and be like, what the F?
Yeah.
I
So
can't
yeah,
even see that. You are
it
too
happens.
sweet.
Oh my
No, I
gosh.
can see that. I can see her being emotional and crying and like
Yeah.
being sad about something that's actually not such a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
that in my
It's so
wife a
true.
lot, so that's why I can see that.
I mean, I go through that.
Yeah. I mean, being feminine, we're supposed to be, emotional to an extent. It's like who we
Got
are.
it.
So it's fine.
Part of who we are.
Did you see what happened yesterday, guys? Did you see in Netherlands what happened? Because I remember you both are like Miss Universe, the conversation we had last, whatever it was. In Netherlands, a transgender won the prize in Netherlands for Miss Universe and is going to go and compete in the Miss Universe contest. And I'm against transgenders competing in women's sport because they're breaking the records, and I don't find it fair for
I agree.
women. But I never thought about it from a beauty perspective,
Yeah, neither
and
did
yeah, and I don't really have a strong opinion on it. But since you are both representatives and Miss Universes of your respective states and cities, I wanted to get your opinion, both of you, please. Kanika, let's start with you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm with you on the sports. I do feel like it's unfair. They have an unfair advantage given that, they have higher testosterone levels and
Yeah,
a certain biology gives you like
sure. And
an
the
edge.
beauty.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Man, I mean, I'm all for um, equality and having everyone having the same rights or equity rather. But I don't know. I feel like if it's a woman's beauty contest, I don't know. I
and we
would just
don't
say,
know
can we
that in
make
the
it a
rules.
transgender contest and then a
No,
male and then a female? I think when you're like blurring it all together, it's not an apples to apples comparison, and then it might feel like an unfair win. I don't
yeah.
Do
know.
the rules say that it's a female
I mean,
competition?
it's a
But
Yeah,
then
it's Miss Universe.
they've
it is.
transitioned. Oh, it's Miss Universe, but they've transitioned. So then they're
See, for sports, it's clear because of the biological differences.
yeah,
Like right now, because of equality, they are allowed to compete. But many people, and I think you're going to see lots of federations changing the rules so that if you were born with a penis and then you decide to remove it, you're not able to compete with someone who's not born with a penis. I think
Right.
that's where the law is going in terms of competitiveness and fairness of sport. And the women themselves are coming out saying hey, it's not fair. But from what I read, all the women in the Miss Universe contest were okay with the transgender participating. Now, obviously, they were okay before that person won. Now,
exactly.
now I don't know how they feel about it, and
Yeah.
uh, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see a reason why I'm against it. I'm okay with it.
I think
For
that's how I feel. I was like,
yeah,
I saw you send me the article. I was like, wow, that's cool. I didn't realize it would happen so soon that
yeah.
someone would win. And also, I didn't realize how progressive the Netherlands was. So,
Well,
yeah,
anyway, I
yeah.
found it interesting. I wanted your opinion on that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Kanika, what else can you share about being an Indian girl born in India and raised in the US?
and crushing it in America.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's very simple. My husband's Dadaji said this, when he was kind of taking his last breaths. He said, "Kush raho aur aapki sanatan dharam mat bhulna," which is just be happy and don't forget your sanatan dharam, and that is essentially the eternal truth. And for me, that's your faith, your heritage, your humility, something to hold on to. I think it's in this generation, as woke as we are, it's a lot of, you know, like young kids coming of age who feel really lost. They really, I don't think they're going to be soul searching for a very long time. And so when you have this knowing and kind of unwavering faith and sense of identity, you don't have that. So that's what tided me through. And the fact that one thing it's a huge boon is because we're so multicultural, especially in the States, everyone is embracing um, the diversity. Diwali has become a national holiday in New York where schools are closed. That's huge.
That is huge.
Everyone is
That
going to
is amazing.
celebrate that day. Yes.
Yeah.
So, our kids don't have to go around explaining we have this holiday. It's like Pastel Light.
Exactly.
Like, yeah,
The
everybody
lights,
already gets
14
it.
years, they came back. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're going to teach, some part of it in school. So that's great. And you're not going to feel the, I'm sure Sabrina and I went through this, just the bullying and like the fact that people didn't understand dot
Right.
head and,
Exactly.
yeah, all of
Yeah.
that. So they're not going to go through any of that. And so I think more than just learning a bit about it, embrace it, teach others around you, enlighten your peers. That's where we should be going. And as parents, we can kind of set the stage
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
I
tell
think
you
it's
what.
on us
Yeah, I
to
tell you
just,
what, Kanika, I'm going to send this pod to a friend of our pod, Oprah Winfrey, and uh, and then I'm going to tell her to get on your podcast so that we can get her on Total Mom Sense.
Thank you.
Kanika, thank you
Oh
so
my gosh.
much. Great seeing you again, and watch out. We're going to be reaching out to you to join our pod every now and then whenever we have an important topic to talk about. So thank you so much, and I'm so glad that we reconnected thanks to the podcasting world. And it was great seeing you.
Me too. Thank you
thank you,
so much.
Kanika.
Thank
It's
you,
been so great
Sabrina.
talking to you and talking to you again. So, everyone, this has been another episode of Indian Explorers. If you enjoyed what you heard, which I hope you did, and I can't believe you wouldn't, please subscribe and join us next time.
I like the angry tone, Sabrina, you put at the end. All right, guys, see you later.